Now in studio, I'm joined by Alex Mashilo, SACP national spokesperson, as well as Somadoda Figeni, who will be joining us on the phone line. We have Budzang Mwila in studio, as well as Sfiso Mahlangu, political analyst. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for coming through.
Thank you.
I will start with you, sir. What do you mean when Nzimande says that calls for Pravin Gordhan to be fired are factional?
Definitely they are factional, and then we all know that there are factional divisions in the African National Congress, and we all know that those calls were never made by any constitutional structure of the African National Congress.
And now, looking at some of the people that are calling for ministers to be fired, what is your take on as the SACP on such an issue?
First and foremost, the African National Congress has a constitution, and in that constitution there are structures put in place to facilitate consultation and decision making. Now, none of the elected structures of the African National Congress have made a call for Pravin Gordhan to be fired. That call is made by individuals outside of the structures of the African National Congress. Is that not factional?
And now, just coming to my political analyst, I'll start with you, Mr. Mwila. Will the SACP be able to stand on its own in these 2019 elections?
Well, good evening to you and good evening to your viewers. I don't think the South African Communist Party will be able to stand on its own. However, if everyone listened to the briefing after the weekend meeting of the SACP, the Secretary General, Mr. Blayden Nzimande, has made it very clear that they are not going on their own. You know, those are some of the words that some of us who are analysts we pick up. Blayden Nzimande said, we're not going on our own. We have never went on our own. We are looking for an alliance that is talking the kind of language that we have been talking. Now, if you look at the history of the African National Congress, they've aligned themselves to the working class, and the South African Communist Party, being a communist or quasi-communist organization, they've always aligned themselves to COSATU. And we all know, and I'm talking from a briefed position before this interview, that we all know that Zwelinzima Mavavi and his team are busy, formulating and forming a labor federation. And I am of the opinion that the SACP will be aligning themselves with the new federation that is coming into place. My colleague can laugh. But his boss, his SG, has made it very clear that come 2019, the SACP is clear to some of us as analysts. Come 2019, the SACP will not be with the ANC. That's very clear. But he made a very, very valid point to say they're not going on their own. They're going to look for organizations and or formations that are talking their language. And what can be any organization that talks the language of the SACP in this country, except Zwelinzima Mavavi's new formation? It cannot be the EFF, it cannot be the DA. Who
Let's
else can do that?
Mr. Mashilo.
And he can
what do you
respond
want
to
to
that.
say? Just respond. Let's hear your response.
I'm here. I can speak on behalf of the African National Congress. Sorry, of the SACP, and I will assist the analyst with correct information, because from a research point of view, the academic background I come from is that you gather data, you analyze the material data that you have gathered. I think the analysis presented here has serious problems if it were to be subjected to the test of empirical scrutiny. Firstly, I advise you read a document called the Manifesto of the Communist Party, written by Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels in 1848.
But let us get
Just
to the
before,
SACP.
No, just that is a manifesto of the SACP. That's where I am. That's the manifesto we have adopted. In terms of our roots and in terms of our ideological orientation, as well as in terms of our political program, we do not have any separate interests apart from those of the working class. We are not a party existing outside of the working class. We are a party of the working class. That is why the idea of talking about going it alone does not work when it comes to us, because we are a party of a class. So in terms of our political strategy, what we do when we move in the terrain of struggle, we move along with the working class. That's what we mean, not what you have been saying. Just to correct you again, I mean, the ANC has never adopted the perspective of socialism or of communism. We are moving with the African National Congress. I'm just giving you evidence why you are wrong, okay? Because alliances are created on the basis of shared objectives. What we share with the African National Congress is the objective of the National Democratic Revolution. We are interested in seeing the National Democratic Revolution succeed. The challenge we are facing right now is factionalism within the movement, and that factionalism is threatening to break down our shared program with the African National Congress. And we are discussing what do we do in order to rescue this particular shared program that we have with the ANC. The quotation from the ANC strategy and tactics that was made by the Minister of Finance during the budget speech, and which we repeat in our statement, clearly indicates what we share with the African National Congress. If you read the Freedom Charter, we are not talking there about empowering some black individuals as if it is on behalf of the people as a whole. We are saying the basic wealth and resources of this country must be in the hands of the people as a whole, the majority of whom is the working class. So the vulgarization of our shared program to deliver a radical national democratic revolution, the vulgarization of what it means to drive radical economic transformation, is plunging the alliance into a difficult situation. Coming from our Central Committee over this weekend, we have only one message. That is unity, unity, and unity. But we are not a party that talks empty words. We are not going to be talking forever. That is why within the party there is a discussion. Our members are discussing and they are free to do this. Every 5 years we have a Congress. There is a discussion on the relationship of the SACP to state power. We cannot be subjected to a situation where we hear from the media, this minister, that minister has been removed. But when coming to elections, all of us campaign to have the African National Congress win. If we cannot be united in action, by the way, the ANC said this year is the year of unity in action. If we cannot be united both in perspective and in action, therefore we are not an alliance. And we will rather not work together at all. So, but that is not where we are. We are now at a point where we are saying this factionalism must come to an end. We must unify the African National Congress. We must unify the alliance. We must unify all the motive forces of our revolution and
I'm just going to have to just catch you over there and just invite in Dr. Somadoda Fikeni, political analyst. A very warm welcome to you and thank you so much for your time. Do you think that the SACP will be able to stand on its own in the 2019 elections? What's your take on this?
Well, I do think that in politics 2 years is a very long period. It will all depend on whether the ANC reciprocate and engage the SACP on the issues that are concerning the SACP in terms of consultation and the issues that make them unhappy. And that, if it is not done and the factional tendencies are still deepening, there would actually be a lot of pressure from below for the SACP to look for different political partnership arrangements.
And now I'm going to just come back into studio. Sfiso Mahlangu is joining us. What do you have to say? Let's hear your analysis on this.
The experts have spoken, I think, tonight. But the reality of the matter is that it is not an easy period for the SACP. A post-democratic period or a post-apartheid period even for any organization, for any communist organization will not be easy. The SACP had a very clear mandate pre-1994 because they were aligned together with the ruling party at this point, the African National Congress, to bring democracy. So whilst they wanted to overthrow the apartheid government, that was their core mandate. Now you find that in democracy you've got a wild ascension of thoughts. different motives. And within different motives, personal agendas often come in. Because now that you are free, our narrative definition of freedom differs. Because your definition model of freedom is equality, mine is wealth, Botsang's is governance. And then perhaps the separation of ideas or ideologies between the SACP and the ANC would be graspably met. But I'm expecting that particularly in the year of Oliver Tambo, the SACP would raise itself also with the ruling party to fight for radical economic empowerment, radical economic transformation and emancipation. The idea is that when a party has found freedom, and that's also a Marxist approach, that after a certain period, that movement or organization splits because it has now transformed into a government and a state and not just a movement. I believe moving forward and for the future of this country, for the future of radical transformation, it must not be the ANC that wins, and it must not be the SACP that wins, but it must be the people of South Africa. I think that the leaders united in one must remind themselves of the agreements they had made in 1989, the arrangements they had signed and shook hands upon in 1993. Remind themselves of that and chart a way forward. Every movement in history will have factions. Moving forward, there's always going to be factions, even if any party can take over. But looking aside and beyond those factions, we must find the factors that unite us as a people, beyond party politics and beyond ideological differences. The model in the end must be the people. The winners must be the children that post-exist me and you. And so it is fair for, I believe, Mr. Nzimande to make those remarks, but it is also a matter that needs to be tabled to say, yes, we need you to campaign for us, but Parliament must do the business of Parliament, party must do the business of parties, and trade unionism must do the business of trade unionism, but collectively we must work together for radical economic transformation. We want to shut down a day when we shall call ourselves one as a people, but we have a split in ideology and a split in our reference and actions. And that will not only kill the parties of this democracy, it will kill the very children of this democracy.
I hear what my colleagues are saying, and they talk very beautiful language and historical. My colleague from the SACP has quoted Vladimir Lenin and Karl Marx, but we have to be realistic. We are in a country where South Africans, they want service delivery. They are not interested in what Karl Marx and Vladimir Lenin has said, even if those ideologies of those great leaders have formed a fundamental principle of a communist state. We are not going to sit here and lie to our people that the SACP can go into elections on its own. It will never happen. Late Nzimande this evening, I'm putting it to him, because I looked at the press conference and the briefing. He has put it very clear that they will never go on elections on their own. They will looking for alliance partners who are talking their language. Now, if they are leaving the African National Congress, as Sfiso said, they didn't say they are leaving, but Sfiso has alluded to the fact that what will be ideal for this country is for the ANC to realize that the ideas of the South African Communist Party are the ideas for the working class, are the ideas for the poor working majority, and so forth. Now, I'm sitting as an analyst, and I'm saying to this SACP, you have dismally failed for over 23 years to persuade a leading political party in this country to implement communist, socialist, working class inclined policies that will benefit the majority of the people in this country. What will make the SACP at this moment to look for an alliance somewhere that will not deliver? They have made it very clear that the ANC has failed. And Somadoda Fikeni has come in and said 2 years in politics is a very long time. He is correct. Between now and 2019, we have a very long time where the African National Congress may redeem itself, may found its footing, may listen to the Communist Alliance and say, we have done wrong in this way, but we should not put a blind eye as a nation whereby the SACP has been the voice behind the ANC. Look at the history. Cesar is talking from 1993 when they shook hands. I'm not looking at it at face value. I'm looking at it from 1952 when the communists drafted the Freedom Charter for the ANC. They led the ideologies for the ANC. They have been in the forefront of putting socio-political policies for the African National Congress. Did the ANC listen to the SACP? No, they did not. Now, we are left with 2 years from a very great transformation of modern day politics where the ANC may lose grip on the power. And I think the SACP is sitting down and saying, do we still want to be aligned to these losing guys? Do we still want to be aligned to the people who did not listen to us? And let us be honest. Is the South African Communist Party a true communist organization? Are they flow? He quoted Vladimir Lenin.
No, I didn't.
You mentioned Karl Marx. You mentioned Karl Marx. You mentioned the Communist Manifesto. He didn't say Vladimir Lenin.
Okay, let's hear what he has to say.
I'm saying
let's hear what he has to say. Let's hear what you have to say.
He mentioned the Communist Manifesto. When you mentioned the Communist Manifesto,
okay, Muila, hold on.
Voice of reason.
Please, yes. Look, what I expect from an analyst is a good listening skill. I understand he heard me, but listening is a skill. I never mentioned Lenin. He was the first in this panel to mention Lenin. But in any case, even if I had mentioned Lenin, there would have been nothing wrong with that. He speaks as if the ideas we are talking about the theory of struggle, are ideas in abstract. Those ideas were formulated exactly to respond to the needs of the people. And just to repeat what we have said, so that we don't allow you to get lost, analyzing in abstraction, leaving material reality behind, okay? We didn't take a decision to leave the African National Congress. We didn't take a decision to leave the alliance. We have taken a decision to unite the alliance. We have taken a decision to work very hard to achieve the unity of the African National Congress.
Mr. Mashilo,
but at the same time, just at the same time, we are discussing in our independent right, okay, as a political party of the working class, our relationship to state power, and then that includes electoral option. We have expressed serious concerns about the manner in which factionalism is destroying not only the African National Congress, but the historical mission for which the ANC was formed. This factionalism is destroying the purpose for which this alliance was founded. And we are saying we cannot leave this factionalism, destroy the movement. We, all of us, have to stand up, walk the talk, save and unify the movement.
We're running out of time. I'm going to have to cut you over there. Dr. Somadoda Figeni is still joining us on the phone line. What is your comment on what the analysts have been saying, as well as the SACP member?
Well, my first comment is that it looks like we're generating more heat than light, because I can see the passion in the reflection. In the first instance, I do think that there is nothing that is impossible to say SACP would never walk away from the alliance per se, precisely because we are making an assumption that ANC would always remain this very strong party that was almost having political hegemony. ANC is progressively declining. It would have to do something very special in 2017, either in the consultative conference or in the policy conference or in its elective conference to reverse the tide. ANC has been on a decline. And on average, most liberation movements last only for 25 years, hanging on to power using the notion of being the ones which brought liberation. Thereafter, due to generational changes, due to the fact that there would no longer be attraction in terms of using liberation as a narrative, they depend on either they deliver on their promise or their power erode. So in such instances, indeed, you would have a crowded field. And that crowded field, my own inkling is that it will be to the left of the ANC, whether it's SACP or the formation that Vavi is working on, or the EFF, or any other permutation, precisely because now the yearning for socio-economic transformation has grown louder than just the efficiency of service delivery. So either ANC reposition itself towards the left and give real content and meaning to radical economic transformation, but having dealt with the issues of patronage, corruption, and factionalism. Or ANC fragment and you begin to see the splintering, because look at COSATU. COSATU is no longer intact precisely because of the debates on how they would relate to the ANC. Some of the affiliates have had to leave.